Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is late already. It is, let's see, 6:45 p.m. And this is going to be a short vlog tonight because I have been getting all kinds of stuff done for the last couple hours, and Alex has a late meeting tonight. So he will be home between like 8:30 and 9. And I'm going to try to go get dinner with my good Judy Valerie tonight. So as soon as I get done vlogging, I'm going to text her and see if she still wants to get dinner. But the problem is that, I just bit my tongue. Problem is that a lot of restaurants close between 8 and 9. So that kind of limits us on where we can go. So anyway, but hopefully she'll still want to go get dinner. She said, I just talked to her on the phone and she said she still hadn't eaten dinner yet. So I said, well, I still have to vlog. And so I said, I'm just going to vlog for like 20 or 30 minutes. And then I will text you or call you and see what's going on. I filmed, this is my 4th video that I filmed today. I filmed a drama video. I did my Halloween drama video today. I did a video, it's so outside of kind of my wheelhouse, is that how we say it? My wheelhouse of things that I do. But I really had a good time doing it. And I did this video about Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise being either gay or homophobic because I had seen this like thread online of people talking about it. And I'd seen all these articles about it. So I was like, oh, well, this would be like an interesting drama video outside of me talking about the regular Jeffree Stars and Jaclyn Hills and everybody else that I talk about, you know? So it was really fun to do something different over there. And I think that I'm going to try to do more different things like that on that channel because I really had a good time doing it. I have a feeling it probably won't get any kind of like huge response or anything like that, but that's okay. It's interesting because, you know, on that drama channel, people always say, well, Peter, why don't you talk about other people? You know, like, or they'll say, you always talk about this person. You make so many videos about this person or that person, right? And then when I don't cover something on somebody, I'll get a bunch of messages or tweets and people will say, why didn't you cover this on that person? And I'm like, because you guys say that I make too many videos about this person. And then if I try to do something like outside of like the norm and I try to do like a video that's like not normal YouTube drama that's going on, they don't get watched as much, you know? So it's like, people say they don't like me talking about those things, but apparently they do like me talking about those things because those are the videos that get more views than others, and I think people tend to click on those because they want to hear about them, right? Versus, is Michael Myers gay or homophobic or gay? But I had a good time doing it, and at the end of the day, it's about me having fun, you know, doing videos. I mean, I have fun doing all of the videos. I love talking about all kinds of stuff. I mean, I could have talked about some of the things I've talked about already this week and had receipts to talk about those things, but it was just like, I want to take a break and do something different today. So that was fun. And then I did a review video of this cotton candy that I was sent. That was fun because I've been doing TV show reviews. I was actually going to do a review of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion, but I didn't know how many people that watch my review channel actually watch The Real Housewives. So I was like, I don't know about that. And then I was also going to do possibly a review of the first episode of Dragula because I finished that last night. And then I also was like, well, I don't know how many people watch Dragula, but I did do a review of the first episode, or first 2 episodes of American Horror Story. I think I think too much about things. I think I just need to do the videos that like I want to do and that like I get excited talking about those things, and then people will watch them or they won't watch them, right? So I'm probably going to do I'll definitely be, well, I shouldn't say definitely because then I won't do it, but I'll definitely, I most likely will be doing a review of the first episode of Dragula, and then I will most likely be doing a follow-up to the reunion of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, of which I was not wowed. I just wasn't that wowed at all. So anyway, gonna do that. those might be the next 2 days. Although tomorrow I'm like hanging out with Caroline, so I don't know how many videos I'll end up getting made. It'll depend on like what time I get home from hanging out with her, because we're gonna have lunch and then run some errands, and yeah, so it just depends on what time I get home from, you know, hanging out with her. And Fridays are not big days that people watch videos anyway, so if I don't film, you know, several videos tomorrow, that's okay. Might just do my vlog and, you know, call it a day. We'll see. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. And then I filmed a Peterisms video. And I filmed a Peterisms video because I watched Jessica Kent's newest video last night and felt like so moved. You know, she was talking about living with like an addict, you know, alcoholic, and or living with an addict, an active addict. And I get so many messages from people and so many comments and DMs from people saying like, you know, my partner or my spouse has been actively using for 20 plus years, or, you know, I don't know what to do, or what do I do in this situation? And so I really wanted to make a video about it. I think in that situation we always think like, well, I actually wasn't going to make a video about it. I actually wasn't going to make a Peterisms video today. And then I was sitting at my computer and I just kind of like couldn't get her video like out of my head. It was such like a raw and vulnerable video. And so I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, you should just like talk about this on your Peterisms channel, just like you would talk about it to a friend, you know? Not just to her, but just in general, of what that's like to live, you know, with somebody that's in active addiction, because it's so hard. And I wish there was like some blanket statement that I knew of that said like, well, if you do this, then that, you know? And that's kind of the thing with like addiction and recovery, period, is there's no... Y'all know I worked in treatment, right? And it was interesting to me when I worked in treatment that like other treatment programs would always say their success rate. And they would say like, our success rate is 80%. And I'm like, how can you possibly say that? Like, how can you say, you know, that your success rate is a certain percentage? And I remember my supervisor used to always say, she would say, my success rate is 100%. She'd say, you give me an addict that wants to stay sober and I'll give you 100% success rate. But other than that, like, you can't say that there's any kind of true success rate. I remember when I was in treatment, I asked my counselor, I said, how many people stay sober? And she said, the statistic is 1 in 30. And I remember literally like going around a room. Like, I think it was like, because we were split up into like 2 or 3 different men's groups when I was in treatment. And there was like I think it was 3 groups. There were like the men that just did drugs, the men that just drank, and then there were like the men that did drugs and drank. And we were like split up, but like I was like in the red group. And so we were split up like the red group, the blue group, and whatever, the white group or something. And I remember like we were all of us together for something, and I asked her that, and she said 1 in 30. And I remember I like went around the room and like I counted, and there were like 33 of us in there. 33 or 35 or something like that. It was like over 30. And I can remember thinking to myself, this was almost before this was like close to me getting out of treatment, I'm going to be that 1 in 30. Like, I can remember thinking, like, I'm going to be the person that stays sober because I want it. And I honestly, like, when I first got out of treatment, like, I didn't even know that I really, like, I was so scared, and I really didn't think that I'd make it, and I really had no idea what sober life looked like to say that I wanted it. I just knew that I didn't want to continue to live the life that I was living anymore, you know? And I talk on here about how on New Year's Eve, back in Indianapolis back then, there used to be this big, you know, 12-step dance that they would have. And that I really wanted to go to this dance, but I wanted to look nice because I thought there might be guys there, you know, whatever, hot guys. And so I asked my counselor if I could have my hairstylist come in and cut my hair, and she said, no, princess, and because you think you're so unique and special, you can stay back from the dance. And so I stayed back from the dance, and There were several of us that stayed back. Other people that weren't like on the level to go to the, you know, you had to like earn levels and stuff like that. That actually was the night that we went to the Pickle Lady meeting. I haven't told the Pickle Lady story on here in quite some time. I'm like kind of like jumping from subject to subject, but when we got back from the Pickle Lady meeting, I'll tell that story in just a second, but when we got back from the Pickle Lady meeting, my friend had brought me all these Michael Crichton books. I was really into Michael Crichton at that time, who wrote Jurassic Park and Disclosure and Sphere and all those books. And she had brought me, like, I can see the bag, because she also brought me like a Veda shampoo and conditioner, and it was in this like little bag. I think it was like an Aveda bag, and she had like 3 or 4 paperbacks in there. And so I went up to the counter, and there was this guy, and I ended up working with him later, and I said to him, do you guys have any good books to read back there? And he like threw out the 12-step basic text, and he was like, yeah, why don't you try this? And I was like, how rude. And so I went in the lounge, and these birds just flew over. I went into the lounge, and I watched the ball drop. And I was kind of like, what has happened in my life? Like, this is your life. Like, you're in a treatment program on New Year's Eve watching the ball drop, you know, and I was there Christmas too. And then I went into the cafeteria with my book, and like around 10 or 11, they would always put out, I used to love this. Like, I don't know why, but it was like homey little things like this made me so happy. The dietary staff would put out, like, the cafeteria, you could go in there and read or whatever anytime you wanted and get a cup of decaf coffee or juice or something. But like around 10 o'clock at night, like for a late night snack, they would put out like a plate of like lunch meat and bread, and then you can make sandwiches and like chips and cookies. Like they always had like chocolate chip cookies and stuff like that. And so I like made like 2 sandwiches and got some chips and like cookies and whatever, and I sat down in the cafeteria and I read God, every time I tell this story, I always get so emotional. I've been like such an emotional wreck lately. I don't know why. I don't want to say wreck. I just have really felt strong emotions lately. And I sat down there, and I just have to kind of like give you the scene. So the cafeteria was like, you went through this lunch line, and then it was like, it's kind of like half circle where they had all these tables and stuff. And the half circle all had like, it was all windows. And that went out into this courtyard, which was where we smoked. And it was like, that whole winter was like really bad. And it was like really snowing out. There was a lot of snow outside. It was snowing outside. And they had all of these like 12-step sayings, like written like, you know, in like soap or spray paint or whatever on the windows. Like, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. Keep it simple, stupid, one day at a time, all these sayings, right? And those slogans really helped me stay sober for a very, very long time, because I would always just remember those things. And where am I at on time? I can hardly even see the camera, you guys, because it's like so dark outside. But anyway, so I sat there and I read the first 164 pages of the basic text. I stayed up like all night long and read that, which is it's just like the main part of the text. And in the last paragraph, there is this part that says we will, it talks about trudging the road of happy destiny, and that we will surely meet some of you on our way. And I didn't know what that meant, you know, like I didn't know what this like road of happy destiny meant. I didn't know what that definition meant, but I just like lost it, like reading that, because I had not been happy in a really long time. Like, and that's something so simple as like a sandwich, you know, in a cafeteria late at night, or some chocolate milk in a container, or this little Christmas tree that they put in our rooms on Christmas morning with some candy, and a meditation book. Like, those things make me so happy, you know, like I hadn't been happy in a really, really long time. And so I wanted that, you know, like I wanted what, oh God, I wanted what they promised. And I think that's why I was like so willing to do the things that I was told to do. And not 100%. Like, I was resistant at times too. Like, I was resistant and been like, you know, my sponsor would ask me to do things. I'd be like, why? Like, I asked why a lot, you know? But how did I get on all of that? I was talking about living with addicts and alcoholics. I mean, there's no... I think, like, for addicts and alcoholics that work if you're in a 12-step program, like, that's all I can speak to because I don't know any other way. That's all I've done, right? So I can only speak to that experience. If you do it some other way, God bless you, and I'm glad that it's working for you, and speak to your experience, but I can only speak to mine. My experience, strength, and hope, and that if you go to meetings and you have a sponsor and you stay in the text and you read the text and you continue to work steps and you're of service to others, I think you have a pretty good chance, you know? And that is kind of cut and dry as far as working a 12-step program. I really do believe that. I think it's pretty cut and dry. And carrying this message to other alcoholics and addicts, I think is extremely as important as well. You know, continuing to sponsor people and being sponsorable and things like that. And being sponsorable means being teachable. You know, I think that that's extremely important. But when it comes to, like, having a family member, it's like, it's hard, you know? And I was talking in that video about, like, I have both enabled people and set boundaries with people, and neither one of those is easy. You know, I think being an enabler, you get so much shame cast on you from family members, from friends that are like, why do you continue to do this? Why do you give this person money? Why do you allow them to have a place to stay? Why do you give them an apartment? Why do you do this? Why do you give them a... You know, I've had friends of mine whose parents bought them condos and houses and stuff, you know, while they were actively using. Just, if you can stay sober, we'll buy you a house. And then they're sober 30 days and their parents buy them a house and they go back out and they start using again. And it's like, why would they do that? Well, they're scared to death. They're scared to death that they're going to lose that loved one, you know? It doesn't make them bad people. It makes them scared. It makes them afraid that they're going to lose the addict or the alcoholic in their life, you know? And we go to insane measures to keep the alcoholics and the addicts alive. I mean, we go to insane measures. And if you've ever lived with an alcoholic or an addict, you know that. Like, the measures that we go to are just unbelievable, you know? And so, and like I said, it doesn't make us bad people. Just like addicts and alcoholics, we're not bad people getting good. We're sick people getting well. Well, it's the same goes for family members. You know, family members that are enablers are not bad people trying to get good. They're sick people trying to get well that just love the addict and alcoholic so much that they want them to stay alive, you know? I have heard so many stories of things that people have done for addicts and alcoholics. I have shaken my head, like, seriously? Like, I don't understand this whatsoever. I'm talking about, like, I mean, I could give you example after example after example, and I'm sure people have heard these things too. You know, you get out of treatment, you get a car, you know? Why? Congratulations, you get a car because you're out of treatment, you know? Or you get a house, or, you know, whatever. Or, you know, on and on and on. And it's like, there may not be any rhyme or reason to it, but... And I don't judge people like that. I don't at all, you know? Especially as somebody that, like, you know, I had family members and my dad and my, you know, everybody that enabled me for a very long time. I do think that it was when people were willing to stop enabling me that things started changing for me, you know? Somebody put on a video of mine not too long ago. I don't know if it was on my Peter Wisdom's channel or on this channel, but it was a Robert Downey Jr. quote, and I can't remember what it was, but it was something basically to the effect of that you can choose your bottom, which I'm a believer in, you know? I know that my bottom is death, but the bottom that I hit was not. My bottom was my fear of being homeless. But if I continued to use, I know that I would be dead. I know that I would be dead today. And I think, you know, in the past, even in the last 10 years, I questioned that. I remember going out to dinner with my dad, and my dad was like, or out to lunch, I think it was for my birthday. And I said, do you ever think about, like, if I had kept on using, and, like, immediately did not miss a beat, my dad looked at me and he said, you'd be dead. You would be, and I said, you really think so? He goes, oh, absolutely, you would be dead. And I think sometimes I forget how close I really was. And it's important for me to always remember how close I was and how close I am. You know, and if I don't do what I need to be doing, then I'm just as close today as I was back then. I think that's important to remember. I think that's why it's important for us to stay close to the newcomer and hear the newcomer's story, you know, and be there for the newcomer and whatever, because, I mean, we've all been there, right? So I'll tell the Pickle Lady story and then I'll get off here because I was going to make this vlog short today. My neighbors' kids are coming to pick up their kids, coming to pick up the grandkids. So on New Year's Eve, I couldn't go to the dance. And I was out of cigarettes. And so I knew that when you went to outside meetings, and they took you to outside meetings in this big van, that they would sometimes stop at a gas station or whatever on the way back. And so I thought, well, I can buy cigarettes on the way back. So I went to this meeting, and this meeting was in the basement of a church, which I actually pass quite often. And I used to go to this meeting quite a bit after I got out of treatment. And it was a speaker meeting. Okay, my battery died, so I had to go inside and get another battery because it is so dark out here. Okay, so I went to this, I'm gonna tell the story and then I'm gonna get off here because it's like really getting dark out here. So I went to, and if I turn the light on there, it just like completely fades me out, and then I have to sit in that chair and it's not comfortable. So anyway, so I went to this meeting on New Year's Eve, and it was a speaker meeting, and that means that somebody gets up and they tell their story. And so this woman, this little old woman, was like standing behind this podium, and she had this huge jar of like dill pickles or pickles, I don't know what kind of they were, right? On the podium. And I was like, what's with the pickles? I don't understand the pickles. A little funny story about this meeting is that after I got out of treatment, I like went back to this meeting for a long time. And I used to sit at this table with these like women, and one of the women, I said something about, there were like jobs at this meeting. Like, we don't really have this as much, at least not here, but back in the day we used to have like jobs in meetings. Like you would clean out the coffee cups, or you clean out the ashtrays, or you were like a greeter at the door. And we still have meetings that have greeters at doors and stuff like that, or chairpersons, there's chair people, secretaries, things like that meetings. But like back in the day we had all of these like little, and they were kind of like jobs for just like to keep people busy that were new in recovery kind of things. Not like the chairperson, like that's still like an important job. Secretary is an important job, things like that. But like greeter and like clean ashtrays and stuff, like I did that like my first year. Well, these women said something about, do you know your job as a newcomer to this meeting is that, who is texting me? Is this my husband? They said, your job as a newcomer to this meeting is that every week you need to bring a bag of candy with you. And I was like, what? And they're like, you know, like a bag of like Halloween candy, you know? And I was like, okay, like miniatures, like little chocolates and stuff. So every week I would bring like this bag of miniature candy, and I would like just take it around, and I put like, you know, like a pile in like the center of the table and whatever. And I was sitting there, and it was like 6 weeks had gone by or something like that. I don't even know how long. It's like so out of focus, you guys. I don't even know how long it had been. But anyway, one of these women was like, I just love that people bring these candies. Like, this is so nice. Like, who brings the candy every week? And I looked at her and I said, I do. I said, you told me it was my job. And she laughed and she goes, you believed me. You believed that that was your job. I said, she goes, that's so nice of you. So anyway, that wasn't my job, but I guess I thought it was. So anyway, this woman shared her story about everything that had happened, and she had had this horrendous life, and had been homeless and lost kids, and I mean, like, been bankrupt and then got it all back. I mean, all this horrible stuff had happened, and I can remember thinking to myself, that would never happen to me. Like, my drinking and drugging would never take me there. Because I had really at that point, like, true conception of, like, how bad it had really gotten for me, you know? Mine was just as bad as hers. So I was like, oh, it'll never get that bad. So at the very end of the meeting, she, like, turned, and I swear she looked right at me, right? Well, this was before I went back and I saw the ball drop. This was, like, at 8 o'clock. So anyway, she turned and she looked right at me, and she said, And that's why I carry these pickles with me every time I speak. Because I used to be a cucumber, but now I'm a pickle. And once you get pickled, you can never go back. And I heard that statement, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm screwed. Like, I've been pickled. Like, and I'm, like, I either have to stay sober, or it's just going to be the same thing over and over and over again. So, anyway, there's a longer story to that with, like, going back and whatever and how we got back. But it's, like, so dark, you guys. I'm going to have to get off here because I can hardly even see. Anyway, so thank you for hanging out on the front porch with me. I'm sorry that this got so late. I'm going to have to start my vlog earlier, or I'm going to have to figure out some kind of like lighting out here situation because it's getting darker day by day. And so yeah, so thank you for hanging out on the front porch with me tonight. And I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing, is it today, Thursday? Thursday. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. Did you do it yesterday? That was your assignment. Did you do it yesterday? And it can really change your day if you do. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you. Oh, also, be kinder to one another, love one another a little bit more, and be kinder and love yourself a little bit more, because that's really important. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.